Environmental poisons, chemical spills, red smog, yellow smog, the water we drink, the food we eat, the pots we use to cook, toys, household cleaners, fertilizers, chemtrails. The toxins that infiltrate our organs are now present in amounts thousands of times greater than anything before seen. Liver disease, cancer, kidney issues, spleen, thyroid, digestion, weight gain, the list goes on. And these forever chemicals are in there to stay unless we do something about them. In pursuit of the most effective ways to bring us back to true health, Lane Keller and Terry Lynn bring us Matt Hazen, who has developed a method of eliminating these chemicals in a way we can only describe as next level.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We've got Terry Lynn here today and myself, Lane Keller, with a special guest, Matt Hazen. Now, you know that Terry and I have dug deep on the detoxification process, and Terry particularly is quite an expert on this subject, and we have been on a search for ways to deal with these incredibly nefarious chemicals and toxicities that have been dumped into our environment, and not just dumped, but have laid there or present there, are being flown in, or being smoked in. So recently, we've had obviously the East Palestine crash in Ohio and the many other toxic spills that followed that. And more recently, we have had the Canadian wildfires, especially in the East, from Ohio over, I believe, great plumes of smoke. Now, we don't even know that it's really from the wildfires because a lot of it is red or yellow, and people are acquainting it with the theft or the missing ammonium nitrate that happened in California. We don't really know what it is, but we know, for instance, the people in New York are blanketed in a red smog, and California is always blanketed in a smog, and that's a whole nother area of toxicity that should be addressed. So that being said, Matt's in our circle of great people who are working hard to help humanity, and he has something amazing that he'd like to share with you, and we'd like to share with you. Hello, Matt. Nice to see you.
Hello, everybody. Before I start, let me start with a medical disclaimer and then give you guys a little bit of background so that we can really look at like the air and pollution test, soil test, and really understand when we're talking about numbers, what we're dealing with, if that's okay.
Perfect.
So the information provided is for educational purposes today only and is not intended as medical advice or a substitute for medical advice of a physician or other allopathic qualified healthcare professional. You should not use this information for diagnosing an allopathic health or wellness or fitness problem or disease. You should always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
So a lot of my work in the last 2 years has been involved with dealing with some, what I would call experts in terms of the knowledge that they had on the pollution. So I want to lay it out for everyone because I wish someone would have gave me this 5-minute briefing a long time ago. So when you're dealing with looking at air tests, which I've looked at countless ones, okay? It all comes down to, we all know what chemtrails or geoengineering spraying that is done in the sky. So when we see those lines and they start off real tight lines and then they break up and then they come down, okay? Almost that entire line is comprised of nanometer-sized aluminum. There's a few other nanometer-sized heavy metals in there, but the toxins or pollutants or the things that are not good for human bodies inside of there is mainly aluminum that has been made into such small particles that it takes 3 days for this heavy metal to float down and eventually get to the soil. So if you think about it, it depends on the last time it was sprayed is going to tell you what the air quality test is going to tell you. If you look at the air test and pull your sample at the wrong time, you could have about 80,000 times higher aluminum than what any human body should take in. Now you could pull it at the right time and there wouldn't be a whole lot. So it's really best that we take that information and switch over. Now let's start looking at soil or natural spring water tests, okay? Because they're going to be a lot more balanced and a lot more better signifier, I guess you'd say.
Sure.
So yeah.
You called it the grand accumulator, correct? The soil.
Yes, it is. So that's the best place to look. So let me tell you my resource when I'm talking about soil tests. There's an old coot. He's about 77 years old. He distributes all types of organic farming products of all types, only solely to organic farmers around the United States. He literally is the biggest guy in the United States. He has over 1,800 customers. He's very proud of the business he got together. He knows a lot of information about radionics. He puts radionics, he has a radionics machine that he built. So he's been familiar with zeolite, which is a naturally occurring mineral that is used for dealing with heavy metals. Also things like humic acid, which is what they use a lot of. It's another binder. So this is what happens. Organic farmers around the United States, every 2 years, some of them do it every year, but you have to do it every 2 years. They got to get soil tests that show what's in the soil. All right. So they got to get their levels down of nano aluminum or any other type of problem. They got to get it down to a really super duper low level to be able to be USDA or certified and all those things. Okay.
Yes.
So what this is, and he sees all these tests. I've seen all these. I've seen as many tests as he has the energy to pull out of his desk when I'm sitting there talking with him. Okay.
Amazing.
Yes. I could have him black it out. Eventually I am going to. I know it's better for people to actually have something they can touch and feel instead of listening to my words, right? So I will get to that. It's just, he's a busy guy. And when I go in there, I just haven't had the perfect time to say, give me about 6 or 10 of them things. So this is what we know. Yeah. If the soil, okay, is at a 0 for nano aluminum, and then they test it 2 years later. Now, this is going all the way. This is all of America. I can't speak on other countries. His customers are in America, but it seems that they're spraying everywhere. Okay. So their levels are usually going up to about 1,700 to 1,900 of nano aluminum specifically. Okay. It's a huge number. It's very problematic. It's good for him because he sells a lot of humic acid and zeolite. Those are really essentially the 2 ways that we know can deal with it. Here's the problem. You're dropping from the sky heavy metals that float down over 3 days. So they're super duper small. It doesn't matter if it's going into the soil or a plant or a human body or an animal, okay? It gets into the cell because anything is a particle size. Anything good, bad, and different, any particle in the world that is 100 nanometers or smaller becomes intercellular or intracellular, meaning it's inside of the cell, okay? So what we're dealing with, these disasters, there's some major catastrophes, I guess they should be called, that are happening. And I know there's a huge array of reasons why these mysterious wrecks and things are happening. And I'm not an expert to be able to say who or what's responsible, if it's just a bunch of drunk trained people or what it is. But it sure seems like we have a huge problem. So now we got everyone's thinking about this pollution. Let me tell you, before these accidents or things, whatever they're called, started happening, we had a very serious unspoken problem going on that wasn't being spoken about, the air pollution and the pollution levels of our world. It's a very serious thing. And I think anybody can really look around and know that something's going on because we all look bad compared to the way we used to look 20, 40 years ago. If you take a look at our whole population, and it's got to be something.
Matt, with the air pollution that we experienced pre-chemical spills, we always had chemical spills. It's just that they ratcheted up. And I know that firsthand because I was married to somebody who insured the tankers and the trains worldwide. So I don't have hard cold figures. I would love to get some if anyone has them, but I have never seen the amount of spills that we have seen over the past year. Not that I'm an expert, but I was exposed to that field. So moving pre-spills, you're talking just general air pollution, or you're also talking chemtrails and fracking and that sort of stuff?
Talking about our worldwide pollution, where the toxic levels that are measured either through the air, through our natural springs. You can even pick up all this stuff in the aquifers at this point. It's crowding us in every way. There's not 1 inch of the world that isn't being sprayed. Is there?
We've got farming runoff. We've got glyphosate. There's even, sorry, Terry.
Can you share with everyone the numbers that I think it was the same gentleman shared with you, the difference in the last few years, which is quite astounding. That's really objective information there.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. No, that was a different gentleman. The gentleman I was talking about, his name was Mike. The gentleman that we're referring to now, his name is Larry. He's 73 years old. For 5 decades, he has installed private wells all over Canada and Mexico, all over North America. He's very well known about it. So his dad taught him how to do this. This is the numbers that he would discuss. Now, when someone is installing private wells on someone's property, when they're looking at where they're going to put the private, they have to see what water table is feeding it, and they test that water to make sure you're not welling for poisoned water, right?
Yeah.
So the readings back in like the 50s, 60s, all the way up to about the 90s almost, was about 50 to 150 parts per billion. You're talking about all types of pollution. You're talking about runoff from insecticide, pesticide, herbicide, heavy metals. You're talking about the whole shebang. Now, there was a period, and I'll say about 20 years, there was a period where there was a big uptick, and they were looking at anywhere it had increased to about 150 to 550 parts per billion. So that's in the water source, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you guys, just background here. The gentleman we're talking about that gave me this information, when he was doing all of his tests, he started saying, oh my God, these results that I'm about to share with you, that he started going anywhere he could crazy to try to get the word out.
Wow.
The Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, reached out to him. I'm remembering a conversation he gave me in my head. He said, and they told me that if I didn't learn to keep my mouth shut, that they were going to tie me up in court for the rest of my life. He goes, and that's when I knew there was a problem. So I really gave him. He goes, and you know what? They were right. This guy now has to travel the country going from one court to another, just because the EPA says, hey, he's airing these results and this, and we provide these results. His results are this, and they make up stuff just to have him go to court to try to prove, so he has to spin his wheels in court.
So just to clarify, so this individual who's now being hounded and targeted by the EPA because his results are accurate and EPA's are false, he's taking soil samples or water samples or both across the country?
Water samples all over North America.
All over North America that are showing, as you said, up to 5.
No, I haven't got to that part yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
No, you're okay. You're okay. So up until 2020, we were looking at numbers that would be 150 to 500 parts per billion.
Okay.
And those were high, but that was the normal. Now, since 2020-ish, he's not a big conspiracy theory guy, so he doesn't really tie things into what's going on in events, different things like that. So what he says now he sees everywhere is about an average parts per billion of 4,200. That's 4,200. That's very much an exponential growth that cannot be any accident. It would be one thing if it was one state or by the East Palestine, something somewhere, but it's everywhere.
Everywhere. So it really doesn't matter about.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, we lost your sound there for a quick second. I was going to say it really doesn't matter about these spills. We're blanketed with it anyway.
Yeah. And the levels are definitely to the point where, with a lot of health and well-being, You can do a lot of different practices that you can only have to do once a year. There's a lot of Zen cleanse for one. If you want to get your gut cleared out, you can,
Yes.
after you've done a couple of those, you do one a year and you're really better than 99% of people in terms of your intestinal health. But when you're talking about breathing in the air, most of the people I know have to continuously breathe to not die. And so when you're doing that, you literally cannot stop yourself from taking in intracellular capable nano aluminum. And we'll provide to you guys too, if you would like. During the last year, we had several different things that was going on with some of the product, what we'll maybe talking about at some point, maybe. But this is what we know about funded nanometer sized studies all across the board. You can buy these studies. It costs to look at. They cost like $32 per chapter. 60 a chapter, just to be able to go through like 10 of them. They all come from private sector, government places. A lot of them were China and the United States putting them on together. That's most of the studies that we'll provide for you guys, so that you guys can provide it to everybody if you'd like. And about 75% of the studies are to do with specifically nano aluminum.
And nano aluminum comes from chemtrails?
Yeah, that's about 90% of what's in chemtrails is nanometer sized aluminum. Yeah.
And I would imagine some from vaccines.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say that? Maybe we'll take out that word.
No, I think the ingredients in the vaccines are well known.
And then there's this, I would say, a smaller amount maybe coming from cooking utensils and our day-to-day products. No, not even negligible.
Maybe anything they could, yeah, wherever it suits the shareholders of whatever companies are trying to become more profitable and follow the bottom line thinking a lot of times. I know there's more nefarious things going on at play, but
oh, I don't know. That's pretty nefarious all around.
Yeah.
All right. So we're dealing with
whatever
NanoScience.
makes that bottom dollar appear better.
Oh, we know. Goodness, we could do Terry and I could do a whole show on where aluminum is coming from. Oh my goodness. All right. Terry, did you want to say anything about our toxic levels and where it's all coming from?
Oh, no, I think he pretty much nailed it. Cooking utensils is things that people don't realize. The non-stick pans, if you're cooking with aluminum foil, there's aluminum foil, guys, and you're putting your food on it. So stuff like that in all the jabs up till maybe now or up to a certain point for sure. So it's coming from all angles.
They're really used big time in vaccines, as well as thought out and very expensively made pharmaceuticals per se usually have a lot of R&D behind them. So when they're making pharmaceutical pills, they're trying to make them where they ingest and absorb at a really high rate. It's the name of the game, right? That's why you have a lot of these nano emulsion. Emulsion means getting inside of stuff. Nano emulsion biotechnology scientists everywhere. These people have the art of getting it down big time. So what you're getting in the vaccines and the prescription medication is a ton of nanometer sized heavy metals that are put in there to induce what they call their immune response. So it's a way of making the other ingredients absorb better. Yeah, it's an adjuvant.
Wow. Okay.
The only reason why they put them in there.
All right. Thank you. So we then do what? Other than try to live healthy living without aluminum foil and aluminum pans, which sounds like that's a very small percentage of what at fault here. So how do we get around this? What do we do?
It's a great question. I think that same exact question is what inspired the group that I'm with to start taking a look around and saying, hey, we're all living these amazingly healthy lifestyles, doing things that a lot of people aren't even familiar with in terms of the different suppressed healing modalities that are out there. We can make a laundry list of what we're talking about there, MS and DMSO, and the list goes on and on of all these things that are not broad colloidal silver. I mean, there's just a laundry list.
Wonderful.
Of things that they don't want you to know about because they definitely contribute to our health. And we're in a group where we don't want to just accept what we take a look and see around. And we knew that a huge problem, it's not the main problem. Guys, there's a lot of things going on that's leading to the population's health decline. But we got to say there is some unique problem in terms of unique levels of total chronic illness that we're noticing and that we're recognizing. And we have to say, what's the things that are different now as compared to before?
Yes.
And one of those things is definitely what we know now to be intracellular capable or intercellular heavy metal toxins and pollutants. And nanoaluminum is a big one because it is used in some big things that we know now are having some detriment to our health.
Yes. So you got involved with a group that has been researching this. Now, most of us are, I would say this audience is pretty well aware. We're already using colloidal silver. We're already using certain supplements. We're doing detoxes, and we do know that zeolite has been very effective in pulling toxins out of bodies. But when we talked to you originally, you educated us even further on zeolite. Do you want to go into that?
Sure. I think it's real important. Let's point out just a quick thing. A lot of people don't consciously think about when they're dealing with their health and homeostasis and all these factors. We are, as human bodies, 99% water molecules. That's a fact. We're water, okay? So we have to look at how do we clean and structure and make water healthy as a really good indicator of what's going to lead to us being healthy, right? So if we look in the world let's look out into the world, into creation, into nature, and let's find the cleanest water on earth. And let's see if we can learn from that and then try to figure out our way back from there to make a support product, supplement that will help everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so what we found was that the healthiest water in the world is always by volcanoes that have been active in the past. So the lava comes out of the volcano, meets the salt water, and then there's a process there, and now you have zeolite. It's a naturally occurring mineral, albeit the human body has no ability to digest it. So you're dealing with a naturally occurring mineral in nature that has not had, to this date, any studies that show that it has a negative effect on any of the human body's functioning. That's the main reason why you take it in and you expel it real quick. So whatever it does inside of your body, it's got 4 to 6 hours to do it, and then it's gone. So what we found, so we didn't know if we had the chicken or the egg. We were like, here we found the cleanest water, and at the cleanest water, we also have zeolite. So then what we did was we said, let's take the cleanest water and put it with zeolite so that we make sure we do it right. We get everything. So we're seeing a lot of these nano zeolite companies out there that are picking up on how important it is to have minerals in with their product. And the great thing about seawater, especially the fanciest stuff in the world, which is what we found, is that it's structured, living marine plasma that has 96 perfectly ratioed minerals that in the same ratio is found in our human body. There's a lot of stuff that goes on when you actually take in something that's that healthy. The main thing is that your body is safe and it feels safe, and it's willing to do a lot of exchanges. They call them cation exchanges or mineral gapping exchanges. And what that does is if you have a whole lot of healthy stuff for your body to feed off of, if you take something, ingest something, and it's really healthy, like marine plasma, then the cells are all there and they're ready to take a look at it, see if they can make some adaptations or shifts, or what they call being pleomorphic, I guess you could say. There's a lot of different little words, but they like to transmute. Water's pretty good at that, right? I think everybody knows that water is very good at transmuting if you provide it the right things. So what we do is we use the very best zeolite that we could find with living structured marine plasma. We put a whole lot of fancy quantum great things on it that ensure that it's going to perform the best it can for people. And that's what's been done here.
And your product is different as far as the zeolites. You didn't really mention, I know you will in a second, but it's the particle size. So when someone buys powdered zeolites, that's a certain size, and you can tell us some of the numbers. Micron, I think it is.
Yeah, microns. Yep.
Yeah, so it'll stay in your gut, which is really good for you. It's really good for your gut health. And because as we're breathing and ingesting food and water and anything liquid, that's the body's first introduction to anything that could be not good for us, or I might say toxic, or anything that the body doesn't want. And so if we're ingesting the micron size zeolites as a first defense for our gut, that's a really good idea. But most people are just doing that. And you have been following the latest with the nano sized, and that's really where the magic is, I think, in this product. So you have a zeolite that's much smaller than a micron size, and you can talk about that in a second. And the reason why that's so different than like the powdered zeolites is because now it can get through the gut wall and the gut lining. And we have tight junctions in our gut lining. We should anyway. And it's there for a reason. So things don't get past that are too large, and that could make us not feel well and have symptoms. But if the particles are small enough, they will go into they'll go through the mucous membranes and even in your mouth and go through into the bloodstream. And so then a nano-sized particle, let's say a zeolite we're talking about here, can get anywhere where water can be. And we know we're 99% water, establish that. So that's the difference with the product that are nano-sized zeolites. And of course, when you pair that with the marine plasma, now you have a synergistic blend. So I just wanted to bring that out, just make sure that we have that. Lane, did you want to?
I want to just add to that, Terry, because the product that we've recommended in the past, which we loved, right? It was the best that we had found at the time. Even their liquid zeolite still has a much larger size to it. Is that right?
They have two kinds.
Yeah, but it's not just the powdered zeolite that's a larger micron, it's the liquid as well.
They're both liquid. So the liquid one for the gut is a micron size, and the liquid for the nano size, their nano size is nano sized. But there's differences in the product, the end product, let's say. And I'll let Matt maybe talk about that.
So the whole discussion here that we're talking about is particle distribution range, PDR. Why does that matter? Zeolite is a negatively, like a magnet, a negatively charged mineral, okay? All the bad stuff that we're naming, whatever we label it as, toxins, pollutants, nano stuff, heavy metals, all that can be categorized, okay, as positively charged metals. They're positively charged, okay? So the reason why zeolite tends to work so good, Terry, you should probably be a spokesperson for us if you don't mind, because yes, where the water goes is where zeolite's going to go. If it's small enough, it can go wherever it's got to go. But does it make sense that if the particles are too small, and this is a science that we're talking about nutraceuticals, we're talking about combining nature and science, okay? This is new. This isn't something like we knew. If you talk to any grandma in the 1800s, they would know how to heal their family. Yeah, they had the best way. I think that's where everybody should look, right there in nature. Okay, but if you're talking about nowadays with some of the new stuff that we're up against, you're talking about having to incorporate a little bit of science in with nature. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're talking about two forms of toxicity that a human body has. One is called intercellular. All that means is in between the cells. It's the communication and all that. Then you have this new level, which is intracellular, which is inside the cells. So you have bad guys that are inside your cells. You have a lot of nanometer, which again, just so he said it, anything that is 100 nanometers or smaller is intracellular capable. Now, depending on the environment in your body, then what it's dealing with at the time, it may be intracellular up to 300 nanometers, okay? So this is all wisdom that I gained from having products, the market leaders reverse engineered at a #1 nanotechnology lab in America. Literally, that's how they tout themselves. And they provided this information. This was stuff that no one can really get this information usually. So you want zeolite when you're dealing with, and it was a perfect description, what you buy in Amazon that's powder zeolite, anything powder, okay? That is down to the micrometer AKA, which means microns. Okay.
Okay.
Super duper small, but not small enough to go through your intestinal tract. Okay. So it's not going to get in your lymphatic bloodstream, all the other places in the body, those kind of things. All right. Now, if you have something that is 1,000 now microns, guys, a human cell is about 6 to 8 microns big. 6 to 8 microns big. Okay. If you go 1,000 times smaller than 1 micron, you will get to a nanometer. When you are dealing with things that are 100 nanometers or smaller, in this case, we are talking about zeolite, them, like any other particle, it becomes intracellular. The trapped forever chemicals, that's the big problem right now that everybody's starting to address and look at and trying to find new ways, because this is all kind of new. We're trying to find ways to get out what they said is not capable, the trapped forever chemicals. Okay. That is nano-sized aluminum. That's a whole lot of nanometer-sized aluminum.
I just want to stop you for one quick second for the audience to just emphasize. So these trapped forever chemicals are relatively new. We're not aware that they were even a category, right? Most people.
They disrupt. Just picture a human cell, which is a water and a few other things, right? And you put heavy metals inside of that. It disrupts everything that you can name. If you name something, it disrupts it.
So basically, any single problem that we are experiencing can be traced back to these trapped forever chemicals.
They definitely have a big part in it. We're seeing a humongous increase in anything that's central nervous disorder related, Parkinson's. And it's hard for anybody to even get to 80 years old anymore and have their bearings. In the 1920s, there was videos of Civil War veterans that were 90 years old that were square dancing.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we're dealing with autism, which is something that didn't even exist before. And now it's what, boys that are 1 out of 7 boys within the first year diagnosed. You know, we're all third eye blind. We all know about that stuff now, the pineal gland.
Absolutely.
So what we are is, what we did is a whole new level, a whole new way of looking at building a nutraceutical, heavy metal, I guess you would say, detox supplement. And this is what we did. We knew that when we are 99% of the formula, if it is living structured marine plasma that's had all kinds of everything done to it that you can imagine, it's on the bottles, we can make it, it's a laundry list. If you have that inside, the body becomes receptive to doing these exchanges up to 300 nanometers. So all of a sudden you have human cells that are willing to debate and possibly give up the bad stuff if they have enough good stuff and it makes sense. Okay. So then we come in with the perfect sized zeolite. It's like a gang fight. We got big guys that need to get the big guys. We got small guys that need to get the small guys, right?
Yes.
And we need a proper formula because there is trapped 150, 200 nanometer sized trapped forever chemicals that would take pretty big pieces of zeolite to connect to and pull out. So particle distribution range is a key factor in any type of nano zeolite, liquid zeolite formula. If you know the size of the particles, I know you guys were talking about Touchstone earlier. Eddie Stone with Touchstone is an amazing guy, flat out. Love the guy. Love his company. I think on every level, he does the very best he can.
Yes.
In all ways, and that's that. With his one product, it is more of an intestinal detox, and he says that it is. And that's why it's in the micron size. Micron still will mean it'll disappear in water. You're still talking about something that is a lot smaller than what you can see with the naked eye. You already can't see the particle with the naked eye. So you know if it goes in the water, you can't see it. It doesn't appear in water, so it stays invisible. Okay. So when you sit there and take something that is 1,000 times smaller than that, you got something that's intracellular, and their other product, because of the processes and the different ways to fractionate or break down, in this case, zeolite into the smallest size that it needs to be, there's different processes to do that. Because of their process, they take it down to very small, which is 1 to 3 nanometers, because they want to make sure and get it in as deep as it'll go, right? Follow water wherever it goes. The only problem is that there's not big enough pieces to draw out the big pieces. Yeah.
Bigger
So,
piece.
yep, that's a big deal.
So then your range is more broad, even though it's still nano, the range is broader is what I'm hearing. So
Yeah.
that lends itself to just being able to capture more.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Our particle, so about 95% of our zeolite particles. And just so we're clear, everybody uses probably 97% clinoptilolite because zeolite, all the competitors use that because it's the best stuff you can get and it's dirt cheap. So everybody buys the best zeolite. Nobody's trying to do that to their product. Okay. So we're all talking about the same type of zeolite. But yes, our particle range of our 97% clinoptilolite zeolite is 300 nanometers all the way down to 1, which means when you have 300 down to 1, but it's surrounded in living structured marine plasma, you provide an environment, and you can do some cleaning, go in and do some house cleaning.
So let's just reiterate to make sure we've got this. Because you have a full range of sizes. I'm gonna put this in simple layman terms for people like myself. So basically, you can pull out toxins of varying sizes as opposed to just one, like the gut, right? Is that what we're talking about here? Since you have a full range,
Yes.
magnetized, positive to negative, pulling them out, and you're going to catch those forever chemicals.
If it's positively charged, and it is now we do have some that are bigger. There is some that is bigger in there, so it's not just in that range of intracellular size. I think it's important I know exactly what's in everybody at the top of the food list for the nano zeolite market. I know exactly what's in their stuff to a T. If they don't put it on their bottle, which the ones that they do, I actually know that what the actual amount is because they say one number, but when you reverse engineer it in a nano lab, you actually find out what the truth is.
Wow.
And I will tell you that if you take the company who is leading the market at this point, they have a lot of zeolite in their stuff compared to everybody else. And we have over 5 times more zeolite in ours. The reason is, now I don't want to take this farther than we need to go. I'm sorry.
No, you're not. Don't apologize.
Okay. What with nano zeolite companies is the only thing that stops them from putting in a lot of zeolite into their liquid zeolite. Okay, when you take a powder zeolite, there's a bunch of it, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's because it goes to your gut. You could take a bunch too much and you probably won't detox. Not if you've been detoxing for a while, okay? Because we're not going through it, ravishing it, pulling out a bunch of heavy metals, and the minerals aren't there to support it. And then the person feels crappy as their body's trying to find their way back to homeostasis, okay?
Okay.
When you have this really rich, nutrient-dense, living structured marine plasma, there's so much to draw from that all of a sudden, the one thing that all these other companies couldn't do and get out to their customers, which was have a lot of zeolite in there, so that there was a big shift because the more they would put in, these people would detox. They'd feel detoxy. And then if someone feels like crap and they have headaches and things, typical detox symptoms, they're not going to come back and buy more. They might even leave you a bad review. So what they do is they all have to have this really small amount of liquid zeolite. But what we have, most of the companies, we have over 10 times more of a better particle distribution size zeolite. Now, everything I'm saying here today, we have the most state-of-the-art nano device, which is called a NanoSite. NanoSite. If you look it up, you'll see it's the cat's meow. In nano labs, they may not even have one because they may only have a dynamic light scattering device, which is a big time device, but a DLS is what they call them. But a NanoSite device really inspects it. Okay. And what we have is we have taken our process that a lab helped us perform in terms of getting the zeolite down. We have made a batch amount. We have sent it to the lab for them to put on their NanoSite and approve and verify that we got the exact process down. And we have that for anybody's viewing too. That shows that. We also have dark field microscopy photos that are starting to come in.
Oh,
We
okay.
have a naturopath on board who is just one of the greatest souls walking this planet Earth right now, as far as I'm concerned. And she has been in the dark field microscopy space for over 20 years.
Wow.
And she has made statements to me, which I'm sure we will get put down somewhere, that in 20 years of dark field microscopy, remember this, ladies, prettier is better. Okay. If you look under dark field microscopy and heavy metals, they're pretty nasty and ugly. Okay. They look like bad guys. They don't look good. So if you look underneath dark field microscopy and see pictures like ours, which is minerals that are shining like stars, and then
Yes.
you have the zeolite in the background, what she said is in 20 years. Now I want to tell you this. Every competitor that you guys know, I don't want to say competitor, but all the people that are doing zeolite,
Yes.
she's looked at all of their stuff underneath her dark field microscopy and has video footage of all of them, not just pictures. She has live videos. She did it for a main company that owns the zeolite market space right now. And she used to be their person, their scientist. And she says that what we have is the prettiest stuff she's ever seen underneath dark field microscopy. And she has the pictures to provide that.
I love that. Now, here's the thing about those other zeolites. We're not in any way putting them down because,
No.
yeah, they are very helpful. And I know a lot of people who have been able to get some decent results with
miracles sometimes.
Right.
There's been miracles.
Decalcifying the pineal, for instance. People have gotten a lot of help from the zeolites that are out there. But this is next stage. And that's very interesting what you just said about them basically pandering to the audience that is afraid of detox symptoms.
Right, yes.
I can tell you unequivocally that our audience knows that detox symptoms are a good thing and that we welcome them because, yeah, sometimes they're difficult if you get headaches or what have you. If you go off caffeine, that's a perfect example of.
There's good pains with all shifts and changes in life. I don't care what you're talking about. You can be talking about working out, birthing children. There's a whole lot of
I'm with you.
why pain is effective.
When I go to the acupuncturist, and I haven't for years, but I did for a long time, and I raised my kids on acupuncture. We had this wonderful doctor from China who practiced out of a very dank hole in Chinatown in New York City. And we would go in and we'd say, give us the real version, not the American version, because they would temper the amount of needles they used and how deep they went for the Americans who are not able to handle just a tiny bit of discomfort. And it really wasn't painful to get the full treatment. Detox is a good thing. We're happy for it. Bring it on. Let's go next level. Let's get those trapped forever chemicals out.
This is bad then, because I'm going to very much disappoint you. Because I have a 9-month little girl at home that for the last 6 months, as this is what we knew. We knew the reality of the detox and like how it's a fine line on what you put in your product in terms of inducing detox symptoms, because some people have lived a good holistic lifestyle their whole life, or at least for 3 or 4 good years, and they can handle it. And some people are brand new, and this is the first time they've ever tried anything like this. What I noticed given to my little girl and to my younger son and to my wife and to me, pouring it down our throats. At first, I was using the same amount of zeolite that the top company did, and maybe a little bit more, because I was like, because we've made so many switches when we were looking at this formula process. And what we noticed was as we perfected the formula, which had originally gone from bee pollen, which has a lot of diverse things that are in it.
Yes.
Then we were looking at pine pollen, and then a combination of the two, possibly wrapping them in peptides or lipids, what people refer to as mRNA technology. I know it's a trigger word, right?
Ooh,
but
scary word, yes.
But I'm saying, but all things can be good or bad, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, on Earth, they're usually made for good, for bad nowadays, right now. But that's getting changed. So what we noticed as our formula improved is that the zeolite, no one was detoxing. Now, I will say we're not going to put any more zeolite than we're putting in now, because if someone has never taken any, we've now used this on about 300 people, have given us feedback. And we know that we have had 5-10 people that said they had headaches, which is detox, endpoint headaches. So I really seen where we didn't want to, so we're going to leave it where it's at, because really the amount of drops is so low that you take compared to other companies too. It's a 6 drop is the maximum that you would need.
Yeah.
So a bottle lasts someone quite a bit longer than if you're buying it from somewhere else, literally.
I just want to jump in and clarify something, just so we're clear on the language. So when we're talking about detox or detoxification, that's actually a process in the body that your liver actually is only capable of actually detoxing, but cleansing is a process that we're talking about. So when we're talking about detoxing, we're doing that every second. But I think we need to clarify, because you're talking about detoxification symptoms and how
Yes.
blood herxing and things like that. And when Matt just said that you don't detox on his product, I think what he meant was you're not having the detox symptoms, not
Right.
that you're detox, because you are detoxing. That's the whole idea of the product. So just so we're clear and we have the language clear, so we don't confuse anyone. Detoxification, if it's exactly at the right pace for the body, there doesn't have to be symptoms. So if there is, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But if it's an overwhelm, you can actually die from that. So we want to get the perfect range, but you're detoxing in every moment, because that's what your liver does. If your liver didn't work, you die. So I think what he's talking about is that because of the cation exchange of the marine plasma, it's taking out a bad guy, the zeolite is, and then it's exchanging it, one or more of the minerals from this the marine plasma, which our body needs anyway, and that's what the cell wants. It's going to give up something. Heavy metals don't like to leave the body; they're bullies, and so exchange it with something that is actually nutritious for you, and that's why you would likely, I'm guessing, it would experience a better level of health. Not only because the heavy metal's gone and the cell's working properly, it has the proper nutrition. That's my guess, and I think that's very likely. So I just wanted to.
Well said. Thank you.
And there's another description that's very similar to that, and also provides a few studies and stuff. And maybe we should put it down at the bottom of the show for everyone, but it's at oceanplasma.org, where people can get a real good idea of what 99% of the formula is capable of doing in your pets or you. And it's pretty remarkable information that they definitely don't want everybody to learn.
That's how I know some of the things I know, because when we spoke earlier, you had directed me to that website, and I looked at that, and that is a really good website and is really informative.
I really do want to go into the intent and the higher level consciousness you've imbued.
That's the most important thing here.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that there's ever been anything, at least not to my recollection at all, that from the very first thought of it and the very first idea of it, to making phone calls, to creating things, to looking at whatever piece of the puzzle, the product we're talking about is called MasterPeace. So whatever piece of the MasterPeace puzzle that needed to be done, this is unlike anything that's been created before, and I'll tell you why. Quantum physics is as irrefutable of a science and undeniable as it gets. And what it tells you is that intention is the key. It's the most underlying root thing that affects all things.
Great.
And this supplement, the reason why it's come out and appears and has all these great things about it is simply because the entire time it had the purest intention creating it. Period.
Right. Beautiful. Terry and I have talked about that often. And if you basically imbue it with intent, it changes everything. And quantum physics, for anyone who's not familiar yet with quantum physics, which is an amazing science, is the viewpoint of the viewer or the observer changes the outcome.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Yeah, Dr. Emoto, there's been so many tests that,
Yeah.
on and on that show that. And the product has scalar components, itera components. You're talking about grounding. You're talking about magnetism. You're talking about different types of consciousness fields when you're talking about the level of consciousness of things. And there's a few trade secrets in there, that coding of labels and different things that make sure that when the person ingests it, that they are ingesting something that has the highest level of consciousness on behalf of the highest good of humanity in with it. And it's all goes into a bunch of magic plus science.
Speaking of which, you say to save the bottles because they're imbued with this intent and this quantum frequency. So please don't throw away your bottles. Use it for something else. Put your little silver in there.
Our whole, I save all my bottles, even though I have plenty of bottles, just because. But there is different scalar companies out there that use a very similar technology, basically of inside of an area. If you put a picture of someone and you make a program to embed them with some type of whatever to support their intention, that it definitely, I don't want to name names of people, I guess we could. Tom Palladino, he's pretty known for it and things like that. So we use that similar technology on our labels because the labels are attached to the bottles and helps make it that much better for everybody.
We're going to meet again because you had given us some free bottles and a chance to test it, which I have, and I have some results I'll share on our next call. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more that we can talk about too. We're going to be able to formulate more questions.
That's great, Terry. That's a great idea. We'll have a follow-up with results. I've given it to a worker here on my premises who has a lot of issues, and he's already reporting changes. Like he had extreme pain in his collarbone for his entire life for breaking it as a child. And for the first time, the pain is dissipating. Good. So we're getting some results in, and we'll do a show on that.
I can tell you we're getting the results in right now weekly that never cease to amaze me, but it's it's pretty amazing, to say the least.
Oh, I can't wait. This is wonderful. And I have my bottle ready to go. I've already begun it. No detox symptoms whatsoever. So what you said is right on. I think we've covered the basics of it. I'm very excited about this. We have a wonderful solution, and this is what we're looking for. So thank you so much, Matt. Thank you, Terry, as always, our beloved health counselor, producer. Matt, is it technically available? Can people order?
It's not technically available. It will be, maybe by the time you put the show up.
Okay.
We're at the final hour, literally. Everything has been done. We're looking for a few remaining. We could have launched 3 weeks ago, but it's very important that we have a system. This product obviously can't get put into Walmart. They're not interested in products like this being in the big box shelves. It takes everybody experiencing some great results and sharing the good news. And so that involves usually things like an affiliate system that's on the back end of our software. And we want to make sure that everybody, we don't want, there's companies that are great companies out there that make it where at the beginning, when it charts, if someone doesn't get credit when they deserve credit, then that's appalling to me. We got to make sure that is El Perfecto. There's no way. And then once that's done, everybody can ready.
Matt, I know we've got to wrap this up, but one thing you said what to me may be the most important of all, and the very first thing you said was you will never sell this company and it will never get corrupted. And that's
not for sale. Trust me.
Brilliant. Because so many wonderful companies have gone down the drain that way. Thank you so much.
It's priceless for that. It's better than that.
Yes.
It's not.
Thank you, everyone. And we will see you soon. Be in good health. Bye now.
Bye.
And don't forget, hit the like, subscribe, and share buttons. This show has been brought to you by Source Light Productions.